Remember how you loved the stories at bedtime about princesses and fairy godmothers? Well, you may want to hold on tighter to your teddy bear and keep that nightlight on, because these are not your mother's bedtime stories.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. This is Sherry, and I'm here with the usual suspects. Let them introduce themselves quickly.
Hi, Colleen's here.
Hey, it's Chrissy.
Hey, it's Karen the mom.
And today we have a special guest with us, Brittany. So Brittany and I, we've just discovered that we've known each other for 8 years now, so quite a while. And Brittany, I remember hearing a story years ago, probably. And so I said, I'm really excited to hear it again. Brittany had some ultimately creepy experiences in a house that she lived in. So we're going to let Brittany talk about her stories and her experiences and probably get the bejesus scared out of us at some point today during this episode. So looking forward to that. And it'll be super fun. But so recently we've all kind of had some experiences in our own with weather. And, you know, we've talked about before that we're all in different locations. So Chrissy's buried under feet of snow, trying to dig her way out currently. And we're dealing with rain. And it's been super fun. I haven't seen the sun shine in 3 damn days. No. And then mom just had some fun. She was away recently. Mom, you want to talk about where you were and talk about the fun you just had this week?
I was in Vegas.
Vegas.
They have the national finals of the rodeo out there, and oh my gosh, these guys. It's crazy. You know, the bronc riding, the bull riding. I mean, oh gosh, lots of cowboys in town.
Nice.
So.
And you won a little too.
Definitely.
Did you win a little?
I did. Well, actually, Dad had some luck too, but I hit it big on the poker, the video poker machine. Because I hit a natural royal flush, and paid $1,000.
Wow. You put those chips in your bra and you sauntered out of there.
Right, in her cowboy boots and woo!
No, they just give you the little paper voucher.
That's no fun.
Can't ask for the chips.
I know. By the time I got over to the machine where you redeem it, my little hands were so sweaty, and I was like, "Geez, I hope I didn't wreck the voucher," because I was like sweating. I says, "Oh my gosh!" So, because we were just sitting there wasting time, we were going to catch the shuttle over to the rodeo. So we sat and had another beer, and that's when I hit. I says, "Good call on another beer."
See, you always
another
go
endorsement for drinking.
Yep. Right? Just sit here.
Always have one
we
more.
Got some time.
All right. So should we get into it? You guys ready for some stories? All right. So Brittany, feel free to introduce yourself and then take it away.
All right. Thanks. My name is Brittany. I've been a coworker, luckily, with Sherry for about 8 years, and she actually got me my job at the company we're at now. We met at a previous company, and she moved to the company we're at now, and I was like, please send a lifeboat back for me. Can I come too? So I think I was next, and then more and more of us came over, but she's a lifesaver. So happy. I'm so glad to do the podcast too. This is fun. So my story starts in Chicago in 2010 time. I just moved in with my boyfriend, now my husband, and this is our first place together. And it's in the north side of Chicago, off Clark Street, like in Uptown, right across from a cemetery. So I'll just say that off the bat. So we walk out the front door, cemetery. And where this was built used to be, it was a park, it was a roller rink, it was where I guess Al Capone used to bury some bodies or something. But you could say that about anywhere in Chicago. It's about a half mile from the Green Mill Bar, if you know Chicago at all. So there's some business there, right? But this was new construction. So when we came and looked at it, we were the second people to live there. It was a new build. The guy who lived there before us had been there for like 8 months, ended his lease early. was moving out. And it was during the Great Recession. So we thought, okay, he was like a 20-something, got his first big kid job and like lost it and had to move out. That was happening a lot. There's a lot of turnover in rentals at that point. So we just figured something happened to him and he had to like go back home or something. So we were the second people to live there. And the first thing that happened, and I will say before we lived there, no way in heck I ever would have believed in ghosts. Like I was raised very strict, like there's heaven, there's hell, very Bible. I'm from Texas, you know, so I was not ready to think about ghosts in any way. I was like, there's angels, but there's not. You get it. So the first thing that happened was move-in day, like our very first time bringing anything into the apartment. We brought stuff in. It was August. It was hot. We moved as much as we could carry in, and then we were kind of laying like just on the floor in the living room, and there were these really high ceilings. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And the living room was this open concept thing with the kitchen, and it had like 2-story ceilings. It was a really cool apartment. We paid like, I think it was like $1,400 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a garage space like in this area. We would still be there. It was so like cheap and great location.
Yeah, dang, that's cheap.
Yeah, it was amazing. At the time, we were like, we are sultans. Like, we have everything we want.
But then that's always a red flag if it's too cheap and too good to be true.
Well, again, Great Recession. Like, there was a lot of like, please come live in Uptown. It wasn't cute yet. So we were kind of on the cusp of that. And yeah, and you know, washer dryer. Like, this place was for like 20-somethings. We were like, this is exactly what we wanted. Anyway, so huge, like 2-story vaulted ceilings, and there's a fan right at the top. So we're laying on the ground, just cooling off. My boyfriend fell asleep. I'm just laying there, and the fan is spinning full speed one way. We've all seen that, right? So, and I'm looking up, and I'm awake, and it came to just a dead stop. Like, it didn't slow down. No one turned it off. It just got like grabbed. It just stopped, and then it started spinning full speed the opposite direction. Like, didn't rev back, just full speed the opposite direction. I was like, that's really weird. I've never seen a fan do that. I didn't know that was physically possible for that to happen. And I don't know what would have caused it. Like, let alone, someone flipped a switch. That would have been weird. But like, I didn't know this could even happen, even with some kind of catalyst. So that was the first like weird kind of thing. And then as we move in, things kind of move around. Like, you don't see them, but you'll come in and something's in a different place than you had it. Cabinets are open. Again, we are newly living with each other. We'd been like at each other's place for a week at a time. So we're 2 years into this relationship at this time. So I know him, but we've never lived together. So we're kind of like, okay, I didn't realize you always open cabinets in the middle of the night. That's strange, but whatever. Learning about each other. But it wasn't poltergeist. It wasn't like you come in and they're all open. It would be like a few. Doors would open and close, stuff like that. But you're like, this is weird. And it didn't happen all the time, maybe like once or twice a week.
And you had no pets, right?
No, but we got a puppy. So we're in the cutesy, like, we're moving in together. Let's get a puppy. So we got a puppy like 6 months into this. And so this is some weird stuff. So we got the puppy, and the puppy would just sit there and start like kind of whining at like a wall, like nothing's there. That didn't happen that often, but what really would happen is I'd be in the living room, and my boyfriend's office, he worked from home, would be at the end of the hall. So like there was this long hall going to the guest bedroom. That's where he was. And I'm in the living room working on my dissertation. We met in grad school. So we're both IO psychologists, which is like analytics and stuff. So we're both pretty like evidence-based, science-y people. Neither one of us at this point are like, oh yeah, ghosts. Sure, absolutely ghosts. We're like, this is strange. We don't know, but it's not ghosts. Anyway, he's in his office. I'm in the living room, and all of it, he'll be like, what did you need? Why were you in here? He'll yell. I'm like, what are you talking about? I haven't moved for 3 hours. I'm like, I'm writing my dissertation. And he's like, no, you were just in here. You were standing behind me, like trying to get my attention. I'm like, no, I haven't moved. That would happen all the time. That happened multiple times a week, where he'd be like, well, what did you need? Why'd you come in here? I'm like, no, I wasn't in there. That happened a lot. And then when we got the dog, his name is Otter. He would be in the living room with me, like on my lap, and all of a sudden a tennis ball would come bouncing down the hall.
Oh, stop it.
No, and like when my boyfriend wasn't home, or my boyfriend and I were both on the couch with the dog, and a tennis ball would come bouncing down. That happened multiple times. And then one time we got him a little like Snoopy Frisbee, and we'd been playing with it or whatever earlier that week. And then we didn't find it for a few days. We're like, where's this Frisbee? What'd you do with it? I don't know. And then it's one of those cute evenings where we're like playing with the dog and we're all, ha, 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 and chasing each other around. And we end up in the closet of my boyfriend's office. Like we just kind of run down the hall and we all pile in there because the door's open and close the door and the lights are all off. And we're he like with the dog. And all of a sudden something falls on my head from way up like in the shelves of the closet. And we open it and it's the Frisbee. And like, no way. Like, no, like again, we have really high ceilings. So you could put a Christmas tree up in this closet. It came from way high up. Like there's no way. And then for it to just follow me, we weren't like banging around. So that was weird. And it had been lost for a few days. And like, why would he put it up there and it wouldn't fall down? So like, I don't think it was a boyfriend. Long story short. So that kind of stuff would happen. And then the thing that really was like, something's going on here to me was we were all sitting in the living room and I had a blow dryer that it clicked up to 3, like 1, 2, 3. And all of a sudden my blow dryer just turned on in the master bathroom while we're all in the living room. And it went all the way up to 3. Like we didn't hear it click. Like it wasn't a slow, it just went like, have you guys ever had a blow dryer just turn on for no reason? That doesn't happen. And it was clicked up to 3, like physically moved. So I was like, that's really, really strange. But I was still in this space of like, I can't conceive that this is happening. I can't admit it. I would see the trash can lids start like moving and then it would just stop, that kind of thing. That was my experience because I was very like, I think the ghost knew not to mess with me. Like she can't handle it. Like she'll break if we like really come at her. But I also didn't work from home. Most of the activity was in my boyfriend's office. So his experiences, and again, Sherry, you've met him multiple times. Like he's not a make stuff like this up and hold on to it for 10 years person. Like he doesn't care. He would never. He would absolutely never. So he would be in his office and he'd hear like someone like leaning over his shoulder go, hey, 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 like try to get his attention. He would see.
Oh gosh, no.
He would see like
I hate the disembodied voices. That's my worst.
He'd have a pen or pencil on his desk and he'd see it start like tapping. Like he'd see it lift up and start tapping. He would feel people tap him on his shoulder. Like he'd feel it. He would smell cigar smoke and perfume like throughout the day. He'd smell different things. And his office was freezing cold. So, Cher, I don't remember in the before times when we were in that same office, I had a penguin costume that I wore for Halloween. It's just like this penguin hoodie. So we had that then. He would just be wearing it. I would come home from work most days and he's at his computer wearing, it's just a hoodie with like a penguin head on it. But there's these flaps that go over your hands. And he would have that like resting on his hands so he could type and not be freezing cold. And it came with little penguin feet and he would have those slippers on over his feet. So my boyfriend would be in full penguin ensemble, like all day working. So it's kind of funny. It's like ghosts are making it so cold and scary that he's dressing like a penguin to like cope with the cold. So it was kind of funny and scary and like, what the F is going on? So that went on for a long time. And he would tell me and I'd be like, you're crazy. Like clearly you're in your mid-20s and like some kind of psychological disorder is emerging. And like, that's really unfortunate. And we're going to figure it out together. A little bit. That's why we have 2 psychologists together in their early 20s. But it wasn't anything like that. Like it really was, he was seeing and experiencing a lot of things in that office. But a few other things that would happen, our bedroom light. So in the bedroom, we had a remote control that would like turn the light in our bedroom on and off. So you didn't have to get up out of bed. And that was new to me. And every night at like 4 a.m., our light would just turn on. Every night at 4 a.m. Or like 99% of the time. If it didn't, it was weird. And I was like, this is so strange. Like, we're obviously not rolling onto the remote. Like, what's happening? And it wouldn't do that in other parts of the day. It's just 4 a.m. So I thought maybe the guy above us has the same deal, same frequency. Maybe when he does his remote, it is weird and stupid and cheap and does ours too. Whatever. So I call our landlord and I'm like, what's going on above us? He's like, no, actually, like, they don't even sleep in that room. They use it for like a playroom, whatever. Like, they did not have the same the same lighting situation. They didn't use it like that. Nothing like that. There's also no one in the building who smokes. There's also no one in the building who like does any of these things that would impact what my boyfriend at the time was experiencing. It got to the point where like with the blow dryer, with the lights, with the cold, I had an electrician come in who looked like Fievel. If you know that movie, he looked like human Fievel with like the hat and like he was very like ex-USSR. It was very cute. Anyway, he came in and I was like, yeah, because it's new construction in Chicago during the Great Recession, so it could have been done really cheaply. I was like, they probably cut a few corners. There's probably some weird wiring, like something's not up to code that's causing like surges or whatever. So I had the electrician come in and I was telling him everything that happened. And he was like, I'm telling him all this stuff and I'm trying to get him to look at different things. He looked at everything. He's like, I can't explain anything that you're experiencing. He's like, they actually did a great job. Like, he's like, so this is some of the best work I've seen. Wow. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's scary. Cause you know, I otherwise I guess we have a ghost. Haha. And he just looked at me dead in the eye and was like, yeah, probably. Was like, not the banter that I wanted.
Fievel, say it isn't so.
I don't feel better, Fievel. Thanks. Yeah. So that was fun. That was a vote of confidence in the wrong direction. Okay, so left-hand turn. So we went on a few vacations, you know, as you do, visiting your parents, and we had cameras up because we're in the not ground. We weren't like underground. We were like on ground level. Was our level in this 3-story walk up, and so people could like walk by or whatever. So we had security cameras up on our doors and windows just to like so we would know or like to basically get them on camera if they got in. It was not going to stop anybody, but we'd see. We were in Florida, and my boyfriend shows me. He's like, "Hey, watch this clip." Because it'll send a clip if it gets notifications, and you can see it's like those long blinds on like sliding glass doors. It's that, and you can see them like opening, and you can see them moving, and there's no wind. The fans are not on. Nothing is open. We've been gone for days, and you just see them opening, and that happened a few times. Like I don't know. That's weird. I can't explain that. And then when we got home, a few weeks after that, and although like the lights are going and things are moving, my boyfriend's hearing things, whatever. One night I wake up and he's not in the bed. And I'm like, that's weird. It's middle of the night. So I get up and I go looking for him, and I find him in the living room sitting on the couch, and he's sitting up. And for those of you at home, he's sitting up straight like a rail. His eyes are closed. He's looking straight ahead, and he's moving his hand like he's throwing something. It looks like he's playing jacks, but like he's asleep. He doesn't see me approach him. I walk up really slowly because in the movies you're not supposed to like scare a sleeping person, but I'm also like, what the actual is going
on? What the hell are you doing?
I'm like, whatever your reaction is when I wake you up is not as freaked out as I am right now. So we're just going to balance it out. We're both going to be freaked out. So I approach him quietly, like looking around, like what's going on. When I get to him, I'm like, it's just him sitting on the couch doing this. So I like shake him awake, like, babe, like, what are you doing? And he wakes up and is kind of like stupefied, like kind of shocked, like looking around, like, why am I in the living room? Why am I sitting here? Why are you out here? It's the middle of the night. Like, he just doesn't know what's going on. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I was in bed and a little boy came up and said, hey, mister, will you play with me until my mom comes back? I'm scared.
What?
And he's like, sure, buddy.
Yeah, that was some goosebumps right there.
Right? I'm getting chills even saying this again. Like, it freaked me out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, that's a weird dream. Explain more. And he said it was a little boy in like, and he doesn't know anything. He hates history. He's like in like Dickens clothing, like Charles Dickens, like Timmy kind of clothing, like short shorts, weird hat, like, yeah, looked like a little cartoon character, he said. But like 10-year-old boy, scared, wanted to play. So Alex was just playing jacks with this like boy or whatever. And he's never sleptwalked. He's never talked in his sleep. He's never had any kind of vivid anything. My now husband has a very like analytical mind. Most nights he's dreaming in like code, like Linux, and like he's dreaming, like he'll wake up and be like, I know how to solve that problem from work. And I'm like, you suck. You're 8 hours ahead of everybody else. Like, it's really annoying. So he doesn't have like little Dickensian boy playing jacks dreams, and he doesn't sleepwalk, and he doesn't like, this is 100% of the norm. He's not done it since. So that happened. And I'm like, this is getting really weird. And I'm freaked out, and I don't like being home alone. Like one time he went on a vacation for not vacation. He went to visit his family for like 2 nights. And I just had Daria on 24/7. Like I never turned the TV off, and I slept in the living room because I didn't want to be like by myself in that place. All right. So a little bit passes. I'm sinking deeper and deeper into, I can't stand it here. I'm not going to like acknowledge, because I feel like that's going to give them power. And I feel like if I don't acknowledge them, I'm closing the door shut a little bit. And my boyfriend's like, just tell them to leave you alone. I'm like, no, if I acknowledge them, that's like the opposite of telling them to leave me alone. So it's this weird, like, if you've never dealt with ghosts in like your personal life, it's a weird like boundary issue, apparently. So just say no, set boundaries, set healthy boundaries, ghost life balance, whatever. So that's what I'm working with. And then one night I wake up and we're in bed, and there's like my side of the bed looks down the hallway into like to enter into like the main part of the house. And I wake up and I see in the hallway, I'm like, it looks really fuzzy. It's dark. It looks like a man, like a Caucasian man standing there in like a white undershirt and like white boxer. Like it's just a white, blurry, kind of glowy look. Could be like a moonlit person. Like if my boyfriend was standing there in the moonlight, that's what he would look like. And I'm staring, and the thing just stays there for a few minutes, and I'm waiting for my eyes to adjust to be not blurry, because I'm young then. And I'm like, I know my eyes will like focus on this in a second, and it doesn't get clearer. So I can't like for sure it's my boyfriend, but I'm like, I also don't want like a random person in my apartment. And I'm staring, and as I'm staring, like I don't look away, I'm so sure, like I'm going to convince myself that this is my boyfriend, that my boyfriend's not in bed next to me. I raise my fist up over my head and just like bring it down next to me in the bed where my boyfriend shouldn't be, because he's definitely standing in front of me like a weirdo. When my fist connects with his stomach, he's very mad that I've punched him out of the dead sleep, and needs a few minutes of explaining why the hell I did that. So after I'm done like calming him down and also apologizing and telling him why I did that, what I now know as a ghost is gone. But that was the only time I saw something. But it definitely, and no one had broken in. Like we obviously got around with a baseball bat and like looked around. Like it was just, but I definitely saw something to the point where I like punched him awake, because I was like, that's definitely not him. And I just need to prove it to myself, but I ended up not doing that. Failed to disprove it. So then we kind of just deal with living there. And it's, again, like it's a great place. We talk openly about like, we don't like being haunted, but this is such a cheap and great location. We will be here until we have to leave. Well, then we get notice. Great Recession has hit more deeply to our landlord's pockets, and they have to change it into a boutique hotel. So I did ask the landlord too, because I was like, when I asked for the electrician, I was like, we're having a lot of weird stuff. Is anyone else in the building reporting anything weird? And I'd made a few friends in the building, and they're like, no, nobody else. Like, it's just you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just your apartment. So
that was my question. If you knew of anyone else, and why, you said it was like kind of ground level, yeah, if it was just your area or other tenants, but no, nobody else that you knew of.
Yeah, I was like, is anyone else getting really cold? Like, is it in the office? I was like, is that really it was freezing cold. Like, is that cold for anyone else? Or is anyone else like smelling smoke? Is anyone else having weird wiring stuff? Trying to figure it out. No, nobody else had any reports of any of that from my asking around, asking the landlord, asking other people around in the hallway, stuff like that.
How many other apartments were in there?
9, I want to say. So in our part there was. So there was like, we were the only ones on the first floor. And then there were like more per floor going up, because we were the one on the main floor in the back.
But it was new construction, and you were the second people to live in there, correct? So
I wonder if that guy that broke his lease early was also having experiences and said, screw you guys, I'm out of here. Not dealing with this.
But I think looking back, like he fled, I think, like early is my guess. Because it was a great place for cheap. So I don't know if anyone would leave there after 8 months.
In one question, so did Alex say when he was hearing someone saying hey to him, and that, did he say, did it sound like a man? Did it sound like a kid? Did it sound like a woman? Because it seems like with perfume, with cigar smoke, and then with the little kid wanting to play jacks, it seems like there's multiple potential spirits in this location.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it's all over the place, doesn't it? There's 2 parts of the story left, and I think I will reveal a little bit. But you're right. You're on the right track. Yeah. So this is going to take a left turn and then another left turn. So we get the, like, you need to move out. We're turning into a boutique hotel. It's the only way we can, like, get more financing to, like, whatever, weather the storm. So we're like, oh, damn. It was cheap, but it was haunted. So we're, like, conflicted about leaving, but we do. And as soon as we get the keys to the new place, I'm out. We have, like, a 2-week overlap. And I'm like, I'm never coming back. Have fun moving out. Like, I packed everything up and, like, I'll unpack, you move. I'm not ever coming back here. It's haunted. Like, once we can leave, Brittany is, like, really cool, saying, like, there's tons of ghosts here, I'm out. But while I was living there, I would never, like, openly acknowledge. So I'm out. Again, boyfriend who would never in a million years make this up. And he has maintained this to this day. Like, I told him I was doing this. And I was like, hey, is it okay if I tell your story? And I checked some things with him. And he was like, yeah, that's what happened. Like, it sucked. You know, like, it wasn't like and there's no embellishment. He's just like, yeah, that's how it went. And I hated it. And it was scary. But I'm glad we're not there anymore. Whatever. The most jokes he does is now, anywhere we've lived since then, he'll be like, maybe it's a ghost. And I'm like, F you. Like, no, don't joke with me again. But we haven't had any since then. Anyway, so we're moving out. He is there. It's the last day. Like, it's his last thing. He has been there all day, cleaning the carpets, shampooing the carpets all day long. And there's nothing left in the apartment, whatever. He's doing that. He said all day he had headphones on, blaring, because the doors would open and then slam shut. Like, open and slam shut. And he wanted them open for airflow because he doesn't want to, like, asphyxiate with all the, like, fumes and stuff. So he was pissed because he had to keep opening doors and, like, trying to prop them open. They would still just, like, slam shut and then open and close themselves. So that's going on all day. He's like, that was annoying. He's done with that. He's got it back in the car. And I said, we're in the back of this building. We're in the ground apartment. So you could back your car, like, right up to the back and you could see the whole back of the apartment, like all the windows and sliding glass door and all that stuff. So he's about to leave. He's standing at the front door. He's holding, like, a coffee pot, a trash bag, and this folding stepladder, which I should have brought in the room. We still have it. It's like a metal Home Depot. It's not a plastic flabby thing. It's like this industrial stepladder, and he's holding it, and it's, like, slack in his hand. He's standing there about to punch in the code and, like, get GTFO. And all of a sudden, and there's one light on, all of a sudden, like, Peter Pan style, a bunch of people-shaped shadows appear all around the room. Like, silhouettes of people. Like about a dozen people in this big living room. And like, I will say that the entryway is like it's alcove, so he's like kind of in an off. He's like 3 feet off the main room, but he can see all this clearly. It's open. Yeah, so they emerge, and he's just like, "What is about to happen? What party is this?" And he said the people start running around the room. They just start running all in one direction, like a merry-go-round. People start running, and he's pressed up against the door, like, "What?" Just again, like frozen still. And then after a couple seconds, they lift off the ground, and they're still swirling now, and they're not against the walls anymore. They're like in the air around the fan, essentially the fan that I opened with, seeing that come to a complete stop. Now they're swirling around this fan. And again, he's pressed up against the door, and then they converge and they all come at him at once. Yeah. Like a swarm. Like they just whoop at him. And the metal stepladder that he's holding that is slack goes straight up. Like it just, in his hand, just like if someone took the bottom and like lifted it up, it just went whoop, like straight up. And he's like, F this, I'm out. He like throws the trash bag in the hallway, hits the alarm button, gets out, goes around, is putting stuff in the car. He looks back, and you can see, like I said, the whole back of the apartment. And all the blinds were closed, all the lights were off, and all of a sudden, every light in the whole place goes on. Like someone. And then, in like a dozen places, you can see like where they're pulling the blinds apart, they're opening curtains, like they're looking, and they're looking at him. Like he can't see them, but he can see where the blinds are parting. And he just stands there looking at them, and they look at him for like maybe 15 seconds, and then it all goes dark, and it's quiet. And he leaves. And we never go back.
Gosh, it was like they were like ramping up. They're like, he's out of here. We need one big show for him. That's terrifying.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the last thing I'll say. While we were there, we had one visitor at the very end. Well, we had a couple of visitors, like we're in our 20s, right? But like one in particular came to stay with us, and she's really spiritual. She's into a lot of like stuff. she's a Reiki master, if you know what that is. Like she's super into like energy and whatever. And she stayed with us for a few days one time. And she told me after we moved, and we were telling her this story because we knew she'd find it interesting. And she's like, I didn't want to tell you at the time, Brittany, because I knew you'd freak out. But she's like, your place had a lot of spirits and they were coming and going like a bus stop. Like no one was haunting you. It just was like a way station. Like ghosts were there for a little bit and then they leave, like an in and out kind of thing.
Portal.
Yeah, portal.
Yeah. So like nothing about you, nothing about like a story about someone was murdered there. Like there wasn't, it was just like an in and out thing. So like a little boy waiting for his mom makes sense. Different smells, different scents, different things. Nothing was consistent except the lights going on and off, like all of it. So that's my haunted house story.
I mean, and so we've heard similar things about places being potential portals and things, and that, but to have so many, I mean, you said what, maybe like a dozen at once, and just, I mean, that's almost poltergeist level right there. I mean, that's, all of these people in the same place in that energy, and that actually makes a lot of sense as to why the experiences were so strong. Because if there's so much energy in that place, then they're feeding off of you, they're feeding off of each other, because that's a lot of physical to affect lights, to move pencils and pens, to physically tap somebody and touch them and make voices known, and not just on an EVP where it could be heard after recording, but to hear it in real time and then to manifest. I mean, what you saw in the hallway, all of these things, is just, I wonder, it's curious to think about what could have potentially happened there at some point in history to allow it to be that portal or that entryway.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, like, this woman who I trust, she's smart. She's weird, but she's smart. I asked her too. I was like, what do you think was going on? Like, why was our apartment bus stop? And she said the whole climax thing. She's like, well, did you tell them you were leaving? And I was like, no, I don't talk to them as a rule. And she's like, they probably were pissed you didn't, like, they were probably like, what is going on? Why are you leaving? Because they'd gotten used to you, which was why the show at the end. And she said, they were probably in the cemetery, like doing their stuff, and like you guys with your energy kind of attracted them, because I guess they're attracted to, this is her side, right? Like I am since very interested in ghost stories, not surprisingly. But she said, like, it was pretty turbulent when we first moved in together. Like we're still together. Like we're deeply in love. I love him so much. But when we started dating, it was rough. Like, what do you mean you don't do the dishes? What do you mean, whatever? Like, I want to go out. We want to stay in, whatever. You're in your early 20s. You're figuring out how to live with somebody. And I guess, like, turbulence, they're kind of, like, attracted to, of, like, that weird, like, energy. I don't know. So, like, I don't know what it was about that place, proximity to the cemetery, or something happened there. I don't know, but that was the hypothesis. That's like the closest thing to anything that makes sense that I've heard in the last 10 years.
Well, we don't know. I mean, we don't know portals, like where they start or why. Like, I just finished a book around Halloween called Grave's End, and they had a portal in their house, according to the psychic that came, and she had to close the portal. But yeah, I mean, you think of this as like some sort of a revolving ghost door, which is terrifying because, like you said, it's new construction. It's not some creepy Victorian house that you're choosing to live in. And you never know. Scary.
Well, and the fact that you weren't alone. It wasn't just like a single family building. I mean, you were in an apartment where there were other people, and it was only being experienced with you. So whether it's some kind of, like you said, some energy, that you and Alex had going on, or that maybe, since it seemed like whether it was you not acknowledging it or whether it was him that they were attracted to. I mean, we've also talked about in other podcast episodes that there are certain people who kind of like a beacon, they're attracted, spirits are attracted to them. So maybe they were drawn to him in a way, and it helped them, to feed off. So maybe that's why it is located in your apartment only. I think the cemetery could absolutely have something to do with it as well, and being its proximity to your location. But it's still, you never know what happened. I mean, Chicago is a city full of history and all those things. I mean, You never know what could have happened that could have opened it, so to speak, and then being where it was with the cemetery, it's like, ooh, yay, let's, here we go. But I would be curious to know if the man who lived there before you had experiences, and has anyone had experiences since then?
Yeah, I track occasionally.
There's any Yelp reviews
I think
about
it's
it?
in that the portal's in the closet.
Yeah, like I
Portal's
do
in that
check. I like
closet.
Google it. I Google it sometimes. Like, has anyone had, like, I look at the reviews because I was like, someone definitely. What we had going on from day one to when we left, like, it never stopped. Like, you would know. And it's a long term thing. Like, the minimum is like 3 nights. Like, so someone is like, come on.
How long did you live there?
Just shy of 2 years.
I mean, even the light turning on at 4 a.m. you think would still be happening if that was a thing.
That's why I wonder what the property was before. Like, was it like a hospital, or was it a cemetery that, the poltergeist reference? Do they move the headstones and not
They only move the headstones across the street.
It had been, I looked at that, like, it had been a garden, like a kind of like with garden paths and like a park, I guess is probably a better way to say it. It was a park before, and it was a roller rink in like the 80s, and it was a few other things, but it was never like a crematorium. That makes sense. Or like nothing like an obvious, like, oh, okay, now I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. It's like sometimes we just don't know. We don't know why something is going to be haunted and why just your area. And like you said, too, the activities seem to be centered around your husband's office, where it was just like a cold spot. And that's where it always seems to be, too. We get these, themes of stories where it's like activities centered around like a certain area, too, like a localized area of the house. So fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of what you're saying makes sense about like it being on a person. I think my now husband is more like permeable, if that's the way to think about it. Like he's a little softer, like a little more in tune with that kind of thing. And they know it. He doesn't like that about himself. But I think they know it. They're like see him being a little more like less opaque than others maybe. And I think because they were trying to get his attention. Like that's why he would be in the penguin costume, but I left out like he would be listening to music so loud. And I'm like, why is it so loud? Like it bang, 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 like reggaeton, like super loud. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm tired of hearing them. Like he would listen to music so loud, trying to not hear them trying to get his attention. But we never felt unsafe. Like there was never like a knife flying at me, or like our dog didn't get sick. Like if anything, they played with our dog. Like they were trying to get his attention, but we never felt like scary, except that it was not normal.
That ball bouncing down the hallway still gets me. Oh my goodness! I think I would have crapped. I would have crapped my pants.
Even the fact that
I would have needed to change my drawers.
Even the fact they came to him in his sleep, like woke him up from a sleep, like into his subconscious to get his attention, to make that connection. Also, like if he was, kind of more permeable.
Also, so sad though. He's waiting for his mom.
It is sad.
And he's probably like, damn it, Brittany, you woke him up. I was playing Jack.
Yeah.
Winning.
Somewhere invisible to me as a little boy being like, what the hell? I was winning.
It'd be really creepy if you found a Jack or something laying down or stepped on it or something.
Really creepy.
That would be really creepy.
And also they were mad. It seemed like they were mad almost that he was leaving. Like,
that's what it
seems
like.
Oh, maybe they really liked him. I never thought of it that way.
So I know your friend asked you if you told them you were leaving, but did he tell them that? Like, did he ever address them?
Oh, I forgot this part. So the only time he ever talked to them was one time I was not there. He turns it's time for bed. He turns all the lights off and he goes to like the bathroom one more time and he comes out to go to bed and all the lights are on. Every light in the place is on. This is before I called the electrician. This is one of the reasons I called the electrician. And he goes, "Are you effing kidding me? Turn these off now." And then they all go off.
Gee.
And the way he told me was like how you would tell her. Like he didn't like call me. He like when I got home and like that night of my arrival, we were going to bed. He's like, "Oh yeah, like when you were gone, this thing happened." Like you remember something and tell a spouse, like, "Oh yeah, like last time we were going to bed, like it was crazy, weird." Meanwhile, I'm under the covers, like, "Oh my god."
It's almost like your own built-in like Alexa, like Alexa, turn off the lights. Hey, ghost, turn off the lights.
Right. We should have utilized this. Yeah, now I'm realizing missed opportunity. Yeah. Apparently you can open and close blinds. Maybe you can pre the oven.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
keep an eye on the house when we're out of town. Who needs security
Clean
cameras?
my bathrooms, you know, they can already turn on hair dryers. Right. They might as well just run a toilet brush.
Right? Oh, yeah. While you're at it. Right. You can open the cupboard.
Yeah, you can open cabinets, so put the dishes away.
I really should have done this differently.
Right.
Man, lessons learned. Yeah. That would have helped with the ghost work-life balance if I'd known.
And that's what they wanted the step stool for. They couldn't reach. They needed the step stool. They're like, let me help you with that. I'll carry that. Yeah.
So wait, just revisit that step stool. It went shooting up in the air and then it came back down and he grabbed it and left. Did you say you still have it?
We still have it. Do you want to see? Like, I have it in the hallway.
Please enjoy some music while Brittany grabs the stool.
Oh yeah. So
this is
So for the listeners, that is heavy duty.
This is heavy. Like, we put a little like spongy Velcro-y handle. Mm-hmm. So that's what he was holding. So he's against the door and he's holding it like this, like scared to death. And then this thing just goes whoop, like that.
Yeah. And so for the listeners, it's a metal 3-step step stool. So not something that would easily be pulled up. But so to my point though, if I'm standing there holding that and it gets lifted out of my hand, I'm dropping that thing and getting the F out. I don't even, the fact that you all still have it is quite fascinating to me. Alex said, no, this is my step stool.
We were poor. We were students. This is a nice step ladder. We have it 10 years later. Yeah. We would have still been there for the rent and the parking space. Like, you don't understand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, if anyone's ever lived in Chicago, you do understand. And you would be haunting or no haunting. I'm keeping that.
Yeah, we were, he was probably like, mine, and like ran away. Cause he stayed all day with those ghosts because of the security deposit, you know, like that's not a joke. So yeah, I'm getting my whatever $100 or whatever, however many hundreds of dollars.
Well, and you took a very pragmatic approach to everything. I mean, you hired an electrician, you know, you were trying to debunk anything that could have possibly caused that beyond anything just paranormal.
Right. You talk to the landlord, you talk to the neighbors. Hey, who's smoking up here? You know, who's got the cigar in the, you know, like you said, you guys are highly logical people and there has to be a logical explanation to these things. And until there
it caused a lot of strife early in our relationship because he's like, for 1.5 years, I lived in a haunted house effectively alone because you wouldn't acknowledge anything and I couldn't talk to you about it. Because if I tried to tell you about the effed up thing that just happened to me, you'd be like, I don't hear it, la la la, weird, you must be crazy. So like he got like gaslighted by his girlfriend.
Oh no, it's okay. That's a common theme too, where it's usually who's ever home more. So it's usually the woman, you know, and then the husband will refuse to believe it, and then it does cause tension in a relationship. So it's not a unique story. It's very familiar where, you know, one person doesn't want to talk about it, the other one's experiencing it, and there's that denial. So
when luckily it didn't attach itself to the energy, didn't attach itself to you or him and move with you. That stayed.
Right. They stayed.
Well, and that was the thing. I think your friend said it's not that you're haunted. It was the location more so than anything that this was, you know, I mean, I think that's the best term for it. It's a bus stop. It's people are coming and going as they please. And you just happen. And I think Alex just happened to be a, you know, kind of a beacon, a little shiny light that attracted probably more so. And, but others probably stay there or live there and had no idea because it just wasn't just passing them right by. Or maybe things happened and they blew them off and the ghost figured, okay, I'm not getting anything out of this person because I know that they can't hear me. But if they can tell that Alex hears them, I mean, he's putting on headphones, he's listening to loud music, he's telling him to stop. He's dressing like a penguin because he's feeling, I mean, they know, you know, that they can affect him and they're going to try and keep doing it. But, you know, so maybe it was the right approach that you had to not acknowledge them because maybe if you had, they would have bugged you a bit more.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Well, and you must have a good guy in Alex. You guys, your relationship survived that early trauma in your beginnings. So he must be the real deal.
Yeah, we're not haunted by it.
Wah, wah. Yeah. He didn't ghost you.
Nice, Karen.
Grandma's got the cool lingo going.
Oh, I still got it.
You know what that means, Mom?
Yes, I watch these shows. They go, "You've been ghosted." Oh, no, you know what that? Hey.
Well, thank you, Brittany, so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. That's a good one. That's another good one.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it. Good ideas.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Well, and after such a great story, I guess that leaves one thing. Take it away, Mom.
Thank you for listening, and remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at notyourmothersbedtimestory. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.